Good morning, happy 2026. We are back, and today my goal is to make at least 5, hopefully 6 or 7 nutrient-dense, high-protein breakfast recipes. And I am convinced that eating a nutrient-dense, high-protein breakfast is one of the best decisions that you can make for your health. And I'll get more into that. We have a full day here, so I'm gonna get going. I hope you guys have had a great start to the new year. I'd say we're more easing into 2026 between Sam being born in October and wrapping up harvesting and winterizing last fall. We were in pretty desperate need of some time to slow down and do a bit of a reset as a family heading into this year. But there have also been lots of exciting behind the scenes sort of things happening with From Scratch Farmstead that we are so excited to share more about in the weeks to come.
You're so big.
We're actually filming on a Saturday today because the weekends are when I have more time to do kind of bigger batch cooking to gear up for the week ahead. I don't have all of the same things on my plate as I would during the week, and I found doing this batch cooking on the weekends really helps to set our family up for the full days during the week so that they go so much more smoothly. With our chickens slowing down a bit on their egg laying during these winter months, we've all been really enjoying kind of a change of pace in what we're eating for breakfast and trying some different things than our typical scrambled eggs, but still meals that are nutrient dense, high in protein to start the day off on the right foot. So first step this morning, I'm gonna make some breakfast meatballs. But actually before that, I already started yogurt going first thing this morning in the crock pot. I've been making yogurt this way for probably 15 years now, and it works amazingly well. It takes all day, but it's also all almost completely hands-off. I poured a half gallon of milk into our crock pot and set the timer on low for 2.5 hours. I also always make sure to set a timer on my phone because it's really easy to miss the little timer thing on our very old school crock pot. After that 2.5 hours is up, I turn the crock pot off completely. And then 3 hours later, which I set another timer for that, I mix in a half a cup of yogurt starter, which is just yogurt from the previous batch that I made, or you could also use plain store-bought yogurt for this. And then I wrap the crock pot in towels to insulate it. Let it sit all day in that insulated crock pot to do its thing, and then the last thing I do before bed is I scoop out our finished yogurt into jars and then into the fridge. And this makes a really nice, thick, creamy yogurt, and it even sets up a little bit more in the fridge. One tip that I'd give if you find that your yogurt is pretty thin and not as thick and creamy as you'd like it to be is to actually lower the amount of starter that you're putting into it. This may sound counterintuitive, but actually adding too much starter can cause kind of that overcrowding effect, so that extra bacteria in the yogurt is then consuming the milk sugar too quickly, and this can prevent the proper coagulation that's needed and is making the yogurt more runny. And so when I actually reduced the amount of starter that I was adding to my yogurt by just slightly less than a half a cup, it actually ended up being so much better and more consistently thick and creamy than it had been before. Another thing that I get asked all the time about this recipe is it possible to make with either more or less milk than a half gallon? And it is possible, but in order to do so, you'd have to experiment with changing the cooking times so that the milk would be at the correct temperature for the yogurt to do its thing. So what I shared here, the times that I shared here, work perfectly for a half gallon's worth, but it wouldn't work if you changed the amount of milk that you used. But as you'll see with the recipes that I'm making today, I use yogurt all the time. I think I'm using it in 3 of the recipes that I'm making today. Plus, it's just a standard addition to our breakfast and a go-to snack, so we use plenty of yogurt throughout the week. I'm usually making at least 1, if not 2 batches of this yogurt every week. Before I jump into this breakfast meatball recipe, I wanted to tell you about my very first experience shopping at Thrive Market. And it was such a positive experience. So Thrive Market is a great place to get those pantry staples that we don't grow here on our homestead delivered straight to our door. And I think the thing that surprised me most was how good their prices were. I was able to get some great deals on those high quality brands that I really trust for a great price. I was also able to stock up on those household items that I needed to get anyway in my order. So let me show you what we actually stocked up on our Thrive Market order. So snack items, right? Like beef sticks, we love beef sticks, Lara bars, things that we just love to have on hand that we don't eat every day, but super convenient, good ingredients. I also was able to get some of those just more fun things. We have a couple birthdays coming up and we love Sieta tortilla chips, but it's just kind of a fun item that we don't get very often, as well as rainbow sprinkles for those birthdays. Thrive Market, I also found out, is a great place to shop for pasta. So they had this sourdough pasta that I'm super excited to try, as well as some more just higher protein pasta options, and then just basic condiments, right? So we needed ketchup and mustard and just some of the basics, and Thrive was a great place to get those as well. Oh, and just basic household items. So I love this brand of coffee filters, so we needed those, as well as like scrubby sponges for doing dishes. So I got these, and these are loofah ones, which I'm super excited to try out. And so this is what we got from our Thrive order. And it's actually a perfect time to try out Thrive Market because with the New Year sale that they have going on, you get 30% off top products. Plus you can pair it with our link, thrivemarket.com/FromScratchFarmstead, to get an extra 30% off your first order plus a free gift worth up to $60. These really are the best prices that I've seen on a lot of these items. So now is a great time to stock up. Okay, breakfast meatballs. So these little meatballs are filled with shredded carrots, blueberries, ground pork, sage, some maple syrup. The combination may sound funny, but these are so good and they work so well together. It's kind of that perfect combination of sweet and savory. And you may remember back to this past fall when we harvested our carrots and we actually decided to store them in sand. Well, I wanted to report back that we've been pleasantly surprised with how well it's actually worked. These carrots are firm, and our daughter even commented on how vibrant their color was. We've kept them in our basement, which is slightly under 60 degrees Fahrenheit, so a little warmer than what would be ideal, but so far so good. So if you had a cold room, I'm sure they would store really well in there in sand. There's that old phrase, breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, dinner like a pauper or a beggar, and it's for good reason. There's so much to be said for this traditional wisdom. There's a ton of research actually to back this idea up that having a robust, nutrient-dense breakfast can make a huge difference. In fact, research points to specifically meeting at least a 30-gram protein threshold in that first meal of the day for both men and women can lead to significantly improved health outcomes. Our culture tends to do kind of the opposite of that phrase, right? Very little protein for breakfast, a little bit more at lunchtime, and then the most protein at dinner. And unfortunately, I read recently that that protein eaten at dinner can't actually be stored for later muscle use. So breakfast is unique because you're breaking the fast, just like the name implies, meaning that you haven't eaten in, maybe 8 to 12 hours since you ate the previous day. And during the sleep time is when your body is in breakdown mode, also known as a catabolic state. So research has shown that for both men and women, starting your day with over 30 grams of protein is kind of that essential minimum amount of protein to switch your body from that breakdown state, that catabolic state, to a building state or an anabolic state. And this is essential for building muscle and for stimulating body functions needed for optimal health. And I am not a doctor, and this is not medical advice. It's always best to consult with your doctor. But I did study nutrition in college, dietetics in college, and have some other nutritional certifications, and just find this stuff really fascinating. Plus, it's made a huge difference in the life and health of our family. The current RDA, or the recommended daily allowance, is the bare minimum amount needed to keep the body from breaking down its own protein. But there can be many, many benefits to eating more than this recommended amount, like better body composition with more muscle and less fat, increased satiety and decreased hunger throughout the day, burning more calories throughout the day, improved bone health, and decreased risk of chronic diseases. And I can tell you from firsthand experience that when our kids have a nutritious breakfast filled with protein, it leads to a much smoother rest of the morning and really whole day, because no one likes to be around a hangry kid, or really adult for that matter. So after mixing up the meatball ingredients, I roll them into balls and bake them. And this is one of those things that you kind of just have to get in there and use your hands. So this 2 pounds of ground pork made about 35 meatballs. Once the meatballs are in the oven, cheesy egg muffin cups are next. I've been making these for years, but recently I learned a hack with them that makes them way better. Adding 1 cup of yogurt, or you could also substitute sour cream or cottage cheese or a plain Greek yogurt instead, it really improves their texture and makes them nice and fluffy without being rubbery at all. Plus you get that extra protein from the dairy. Oh, that's our meatball timer. Like, what's that timer? And they're super simple to make. All you do for these is blend your eggs, yogurt, some salt and pepper in the container of a blender. We use our Vitamix for this, but you could use something smaller like a NutriBullet or whatever you have on hand. We used to have a lot more in the way of kitchen gadgets and different appliances, but over the years we've cut back to really only have those essential things that we use all the time. And for us, this Vitamix is one of those. So once that's mixed up, just pour that egg mixture into muffin cups. And you want to make sure you have a well-greased muffin pan, or use a non-stick muffin pan, or use those silicone liners. Otherwise, you're going to have a stuck-on egg mess that's going to be no fun. We have the Caraway muffin pan, and I love it. It's worked so well for us. Today, I'm keeping it about as simple as can be and just adding some shredded cheddar cheese to the tops of these. But I will say that our favorite egg muffin cups are when we doctor them up a little bit more and add some ham or sausage, maybe some veggies if we have them on hand to go along with that cheese. But there's just something about eggs in this sweet little bite muffin form that makes them all of a sudden this really fun food to eat, especially for kids, instead of just having the regular scrambled eggs that they're used to.
Mommy, I got pillows.
Yeah, wow. The beauty of all the recipes that I'm making today, even these egg muffins, is that they all freeze really well and can just be reheated super easily for quick breakfasts. Or you can store them in the fridge for a few days and just warm them up as you need them. Even when it comes to baked goods, I always try to pack as much protein and nutrients as I can into them, while still creating a final product that you actually want to eat and tastes really good. So the next 2 recipes I'm gonna make are oatmeal blueberry pancakes and bagels. This is our go-to pancake recipe. It's made with oats instead of flour, and then it's packed with 6 eggs and yogurt, along with the standard baking ingredients. And it's super easy too, because this is another one that you can just throw all the ingredients into a blender, mix it up, and then you make the pancakes from there. I like to add blueberries directly to the pancakes so that they're distributed a little bit more evenly, and I also like to cover them up with a lid while they're cooking. I found that by doing this, the steam helps to create a really nice thick, fluffy pancake, but it also helps to make sure the insides of the pancake are fully cooked before the outsides get overly done, especially for these thicker pancakes that I'm making here. And you can play with how much oats you add for either a thicker or a thinner pancake, depending on how you like it. The interesting thing about protein is that not all sources of protein are created equal. So proteins are made up of amino acids that are needed to build and strengthen, maintain, and repair our bodies. And there are 20 total amino acids. The body itself can make 11 of those, but 9 must be provided through the diet. And those are typically called essential amino acids. A high quality or complete protein are those that contain all of those essential amino acids that satisfy all of the body's needs. And interestingly enough, animal sources of protein from meat, eggs, and dairy are all complete proteins, while plant-based proteins are incomplete and don't provide all of those essential amino acids. Plus, animal-based foods tend to be much more protein dense. So for instance, 4 ounces of ground beef or chicken contain around 30 grams of protein, but you would need to eat 2 full cups of beans in order to get that same amount, or 8 tablespoons of peanut butter, which would be about 700 calories worth of peanut butter just to get that 30 grams of protein. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting protein from plant foods, but when it comes to bang for your buck, there's a pretty strong case to be made for getting protein from animal sources. I haven't counted calories or macros in over 15 years since recovering from an eating disorder, but instead I just focus on eating real, nutrient-dense food. But I do pay attention, and I would say I pay attention, I don't track, but I kind of just have a general sense of how much protein I'm getting throughout the day, and I aim for at least 30 grams with each meal. And I mainly just figure this out by not looking at every little thing that I eat, but just knowing some basics, like 4 ounces of meat is typically around 30 grams of protein, give or take, and an egg is around 6 or 7 grams. A glass of milk is about 8 grams. So for instance, my standard breakfast is 4 scrambled eggs with around 1/2 ounce of liver pate to get around that 30 grams of protein. And since eating with these general protein goals, I have felt so much better. I stay full until lunchtime with plenty of energy. If I start to notice things like sluggishness, poor focus, increased hunger, or that kind of hangry feeling, I know I need to up my protein, as those are typically the signals that your brain sends through neurotransmitters when we need more protein. Next up is homemade yogurt bagels. We also make a similar recipe for pizza crust, but the combination of adding yogurt to flour works amazingly well to make a dough that has just the right chewy texture, plus it adds extra protein and nutrition when compared to your standard dough recipe. These bagels are really easy to make up. I use fresh ground flour in these from soft white wheat berries. I've found that the soft white wheat berries tend to be the best in baking recipes because they're most similar to a standard all-purpose flour while providing the extra nutrients from the freshly ground flour. We've had our Nutri-Mill Harvest grain mill for a few years now and love it. It's been a great addition to our kitchen and we use it all the time. Oh, look at that pillow.
It's my pillow.
It's your pillow?
Yeah.
Oh.
This pillow.
I add baking powder and salt to the flour, mix that up, and then add a few cups of yogurt. You want to create a texture that's workable to knead several times and not too sticky. So you may need to play around with adding some more flour to get it to that right texture. But once it's there, you can knead the dough a few times and cut it into pieces. You could easily make 8 bagels from this recipe. I made 6 this time since there are 6 people in our family that would be eating these. From there, just roll out each portion of dough into a snake or tube-like shape and form it into your bagel. Then I dip it into an egg wash and lay it on a pan to bake. And you'll want to make sure to use parchment paper or a silicone baking mat so they don't stick. Then all you need to do is pop them in the oven. I've been making these bagels weekly. They make a delicious breakfast. I love to turn them into a breakfast sandwich with eggs, cheese, and meat. Or I've been packing them in lunches when we're on the go to like our homeschool co-op for an easy packed lunch. Homemade sausage patties are next. When I really started analyzing what we were eating and looking into ingredients several years ago, I realized that so many packaged things that we ate, even basic things like sausage, were filled with unwanted ingredients like corn syrup and artificial flavors, but that by making them myself, it really wasn't that hard and only required adding a few extra ingredients. I'm adding sauteed garlic and onion to the ground pork along with sage, maple syrup, some mustard, and sea salt. And I'm actually also gonna add some pureed chicken liver to these that I made a couple of days ago. I try to personally get in around 4 ounces of liver each week because of the amazing nutrition packed into liver. And I've talked about this before in other videos, but eating liver weekly has been such a game changer for my health. And I want to make sure everyone in our family is at least getting some into their diet regularly. So I'll often throw it into things like this, like meatballs or burgers, and they never even know that it's there. Hey, Betty. Did you wake up? Did you wake up? Do you want to eat? Form them into patties, cook them up on a skillet. I always like to have these stocked in our freezer. They make a perfect little protein boost for breakfast or really any meal throughout the day. And they're also great for adding to pizzas for our weekly pizza night. If there was one next thing that we were going to add to our homestead, it would be pigs. Every year we revisit that possibility, but right now we're at capacity with everything else that we have going on, that we're not quite ready to pull the trigger yet. One of these years we will, but I don't think it's gonna be this one. Thankfully, there are lots of other farms in our area that raise pork in a holistic way, and we're glad to support them. All right, last up, pumpkin bread. You guys know I love winter squash. It's full of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, fiber, all the good things. It stores really well and it's delicious. I pureed butternut squash earlier in the week. I do that every week, and I'm gonna add it to this sweet quick bread. I would not say that this is a high protein, super healthy one, but it's homemade and it's delicious. This would be a great one to have on the side of some sausage patties or breakfast meatballs. I love that this recipe makes 2 loaves so we can eat one right away, and then I can freeze the other one for later in the week or when we just need something quick. And lately I've been alternating each week between making this pumpkin bread and making our applesauce bread for just a yummy treat to have on hand. And I think I forgot to mention this earlier, but we do have all of these recipes on our website, so I'll post the links to all of them below. After these full days of batch cooking, I am wiped, but it feels so good being stocked up and ready for the week ahead. My hair, let me clip it in my hair. How's it look? Is it beautiful? Thank you. You like it? Okay, good.